Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going, and expands our base. My question this morning is a very simple one. Does truth matter? I listened yesterday to Donald Trump as he spoke, and frankly, he repeated lie after lie after lie. It was an astounding performance, particularly about Springfield and what happened in that city and whether or not people are eating cats and dogs and, yes, geese. I listened with incredulity because what Donald Trump has said has been repudiated by the leaders of Springfield, by the governor of Ohio, by good common sense. It simply isn't true. And I listened to Donald Trump say that he will not debate for a second time against Kamala Harris because he won. But we all know he didn't win. We all know that Republicans are saying he didn't win. We all know that his inner circle is saying he didn't win. And by the way, Donald Trump, a second debate is not for you. It is for the American people. Shouldn't the American people have the right to judge candidates standing side by side on a stage? I believe in more debate, not less debate. But for Donald Trump, what happened the other evening was a colossal defeat. Every poll shows it. And yet, defying gravity, defying political gravity, Donald Trump says, oh no, but I won. I won. All the polls show that I won. Well, you and I know that that is not true. My old professor in college, Harry Nerhood, brilliant professor, made a statement to us on the first day of class, all those sweet, unsuspecting freshmen sitting in that large lecture hall. And he said this, if you want to pass this class, remember this quote. The quote has remained emblazoned on my mind and my heart ever since. It's not what is that really counts. It's what man thinks is. That suggestion disturbed me at the time. Maybe Donald Trump's voters don't care what the truth is. Maybe they simply believe that if Donald Trump says it, it must be true. On top of everything else, Donald Trump had somebody on his plane on September the 11th, Laura Loomer. Now, Laura Loomer is a denier of what happened on September the 11th. It is astounding that he would have such insensitivity. In fact, perhaps what was even more astounding is that Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman from Georgia, who I think is a complete wacko, even she said having Laura Loomer on the plane was the wrong thing to do. There is a question, ladies and gentlemen, that the American people have to answer. First of all, should there be another debate? Resoundingly, we ought to say yes. The debate gives us an opportunity to hear candidates. Oh, yes, some things they say are packaged, but other things that they say are spontaneous. And the beauty of Donald Trump is he may repeat himself a lot, but he does make statements on a spontaneous basis. Can we, as the American people, think critically about what Donald Trump says? I am reminded that John F. Kennedy and Barry Goldwater made a deal before President Kennedy's assassination that if they ran against each other for president in 1964, they would campaign from the same plane, Air Force One. That they would stop at various communities around the country, and they would debate the great issues of the day: Social Security, civil rights, American foreign policy, whether there should be Medicare for the aged. These were substantive, solid, head-to-head discussions, Lincoln-Douglas style. Well, what you see now are joint appearances, so you don't hear substantive arguments on either side. What you get are vague impressions. But I do believe that when these joint appearances take place, euphemistically called debates, we have an opportunity to hear mistakes, positive affirmations, errors in judgment. Now, here's the thing. The way I judge someone is whether or not they can admit error. That's right. If someone becomes so defensive that they can't admit error, and by the way, we are all guilty of that, I think it's an important trait. President of the United States is the most powerful individual in the world. A president who distorts truth, cannot admit error, continues to repeat things that are untrue, dare I say it boldly, lies, and says it so convincingly that you believe he believes it, disturbs me. To have someone of that caliber back in the Oval Office is something that should concern all Americans. It's not what is that really counts, it's what man thinks is. To the American people, is that what you think? Do you think Donald Trump is correct in these outrageous, egregious statements? And by the way, should you judge a person by the company he or she keeps? Well, the answer is in part. When Donald Trump says he knows nothing about the 2025 project, well, look at the people who are involved in the 2025 project. They are people around Donald Trump. You cannot fail to be judged by the people with whom you associate. I believe that Donald Trump will lose the election. I believe that he will lose resoundingly, and I think we have a long way to go in terms of more errors, more statements of misfact. The question is, will the American people who believe in Donald Trump, be willing to admit that he's a fraud, a fake, a phony? I received an email asking me, John, do you really dislike Donald Trump that much? And the answer is no. I don't dislike Donald Trump. I'm afraid of Donald Trump. I'm afraid of the fact that his statements are neither rational nor correct, and that people are willing to accept that. That should concern every American without any question. We'll watch this weekend as Donald Trump continues to campaign and speak out. And what he says and what he does between now and November 5th should count as to whether or not a person would vote for Donald Trump. By the way, that applies to Kamala Harris too. You got to judge them by what they say. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow. We want your feedback, your questions. I love it. Please keep them coming on Facebook and, well, wherever you want to reach me. And I want to say a special thank you to Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of this show. She makes it all happen. Gogo, thank you. It's going to be an exciting weekend. I can't wait to be back with you on Monday. See you then. Around the Political World with John Rothman is proud to introduce our first sponsor. That's right. We have someone who loves what we do, and I have to tell you, I love what she does. Be Bold America is produced by KSQD, and of course, the person who leads us through these great discussions is none other than Jill Cody. She's an author, a radio personality, and she does one heck of a job of putting into focus major issues, from protecting democracy to our climate. Let me tell you, the topics on the podcast are serious. It's not for the faint of heart, but that's to say the show is for all of us. Be bold in America. In an election year, what can we do to increase discussion, debate, and the rest? I'll tell you what we can do. Listen to Jill Cody as she exposes all of us to the issues. You can tune in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you like to get your shows. So this is John Rothman, delighted, pleased, thrilled to endorse Jill Cody's wonderful program, Be Bold, America.